navigate through the agenda. So today we have to mainly do the lab setup. According to the instruction that I have given you, maybe you have downloaded the required files. Okay, so before we directly go to the network setup or the lab setup, I will explain what kind of a network that you are going to build using this software. So this is our network diagram. So mainly we are going to work with this network. So this network consists of pfSense firewall, and there are two layer 3 switches. The multi-layer switches, two multi-layer switches are there, and we are going to use Ethernet switches as well. Okay, so if you download this image and if you go through the image, you will see how these connections are built and how the devices are connected. So using the Dynagen or Dynamics, we have to create this network, then only we can configure this one. But all the necessary steps are already done with this file. So that file is inside your lab setup folder. So when you download that file, you will see there is a file that we have already created. But you have to get an idea what exactly happening on that file. That is why I'm showing you this image, because without having a visual aid, sometimes you can't understand what is happening on that text file. So anyway, so this is our network setup. So we are going to dealing with, we are going to configure this one, and we are going to work with the network using these devices. Okay, so you can see how the connections are done with the switches and PCs. So as I already told you, we are going to use Vpc Simulator software to represent the PCs which you see in the bottom of this image. And again, we are using a graphical interface because we need some graphical interface to work with the web server and the pfSense. Those who have experience with the pfSense, you know that the pfSense has a web interface. So we have to access that web interface using a graphical interface. For that one, we are using this Windows XP. The naming we have done in a kind of a meaningful manner, because you can see Windows XP inside, because this is the XP graphical interface that we are going to use in our inside network. And also you can see in the pfSense firewall, we have connected a router which is coming from the outside. That is the router that we have mentioned as LAN router. And even you can see the DMZ zone. To the DMZ zone, we have connected web server and another graphical Windows XP machine, because the initial configuration of the pfSense need to be done through the DMZ zone. And you can see the web server has connected to the DMZ zone as well. And you can see layer 3 or the multi-layer switch named as FAC1 that connecting to the monitoring server. Okay, so our monitoring server is connecting to the FAC1 multi-layer switch. So we are going to install SNMP and the LibreNMS to that monitoring server. Okay, so if I explain further, you can see another multi-layer switch is connecting to the FAC1 multi-layer switch named as FAC2. So FAC means a faculty. So we are going with the common network diagram. Maybe the setup may be slightly different in newer institutions, but because of we have to go with a kind of a common scenario, we are using this one. Maybe you have more than 3 multi-layer switches. So the device configuration, the number of devices that you have in your institution may be different. But to work with the limited resources and to get a kind of a proper common diagram, we are using this one. So this faculty 1 multi-layer switches is connected to the faculty 2 multi-layer switch, and from that one the connections are going to the normal Ethernet switches. Actually, they are layer 2 switches. Okay, and from the faculty 1 multi-layer switch, another connection is going for the another sub department. You can see fac 1, building 1, and floor 2. That is the multi-layer switch we are using in that area. So from all these switches, some links are going to the layer 2 devices, layer 2 switches, where the VLANs are created. Okay, so yesterday Mr. Lalanta has given you an idea about the segmentation using VLANs. So the VLANs are also implemented in this network. So you can see the one PCs belong to the VLAN 10, and some are in VLAN 20, and some PCs are VLAN 30, VLAN 60, and VLAN 7. Likewise, we have divided the network into logical segments using VLANs. Okay, so so this is the network that we are going to implement using this Dynagen software. So having this visual aid will become somewhat beneficial for you, because as I explained you last evening, we are mainly going to configure the network in a text-based manner. So the proper understanding of this network diagram is very important. Otherwise, you may confuse with the configuration, and sometimes you will not going to get the idea where these devices are located. Okay, so that is the idea of the description of the diagram. Okay, so if anyone has a problem with this diagram or any clarifications are needed, you can ask now before we go into the next step. Okay then, so we will continue, because if you are okay with the network diagram, I'm recommending you to go through the network diagram again and again and check the connection and how the setup has been done. Okay, so if I proceed through my presentation, yesterday also I explained the software that we are going to use is Dynamics. Okay, so I believe that you have installed this software. Okay, and it is working as intended, because the software is not a huge one. It's a very small software that you can easily download and install. So, and even I explained about the virtual PC simulator as well. So while we are working with these softwares, I believe you will get a better idea. So without taking that much of time, I am directly go to how to create this simple network using Dynagen. So after you get the idea how we are going to create this small network, actually this is a small LAN. There are no any lot of configuration out there, but if you can understand and if you can get the idea how this network has been built, the same manner, same way we have created the previous network that I have shown you. That network is more complex than this one, but to get the idea how we are going to build a network using Dynagen, I'm going to use this sample network. So this is a very simple network that you can easily understand. So in here, what you can see is you have 3 PCs, okay, that are connecting to I believe everyone can see this screen. Okay. Um, so we have 3 PCs connecting to a Ethernet switch, and uplink is going to a multi-layer router or the multi-layer switch router. Okay, in this scenario, I'm going to use a multi-layer switch as a router. So this is the basic network diagram, and we will see how to create this network using Dynagen. Okay, so because this is a text file, actually you can create this network even using a notepad. Okay, whatever text editor is okay to create this one. So I will show you the um, sample network that I have created for this one. Okay, so before creating this network, you have to make sure that the router images, the images that you are using for this scenario, you have to download. Because if you have worked with GNS3 or any other simulation software, you know that we have to have the router image. So Cisco routers are running Cisco iOS images. So to work with that Cisco device, you have to download the iOS image. So those files are already shared with you in our website. I believe you have downloaded them as well. So what you have to do is, first you have to download the Cisco iOS image, and you have to put it into a kind of a folder. Okay, because that is the image that you are going to use as the router. Okay, so that iOS you have to configure. Okay, so I have already downloaded that Cisco images into my this example one folder. You can see I have 2 Cisco iOSs here. See 7200 and 3725 images. Okay, you don't want to have 2 images. One is enough for this simulation. But to show you the how we are going to create this one, I am using 2 images, but for the simulation I will use only 1 image. Okay, so anyhow what we'll do is you have to have the image downloaded with you. The next one is the notepad or the text file. Okay, so even though you see this icon, actually this is a text file because I have named it as a .NET file. The icon has changed into the Dynagen appearance. Okay, otherwise if you right click this and if you are going to open with this one notepad, you can see this is a text file actually. Okay, so what we'll do is after you create this one, when you are saving, okay, so you have to use the .NET extension. That's all. Okay, here if you save this as .NET, it will save as a Dynagen file. So that is what I have done previously. Okay, so the entire network need to be created using like this. Okay, so here I have already done this to uh, make it easy for you. Okay, so if you go through this Dynagen tutorial, you will see the meaning of these things. Actually these two are important to reserve or the to remain our resources. Okay, because if you are without these two entries, if you are going to directly use this text file or this Dynagen software, it will take much more memory from your computer. Okay, so that is why I have enabled this ghost iOS and response mem through. So it will uh, uh, increase the resource usability of your system. Otherwise, this Dynagen software will try to get more resources from your PC. Okay, so for more information, you can go through this tutorial and you can get idea why these things are being done. Okay, what is the meaning of these things? Okay, to minimize the resource utilization, we have to mention those things in top of the our text file. Okay, so then you have to mention where this Dynagen is running. So I believe everyone got idea what is localhost. So I'm going to run this dynamic server inside my computer. So that need to be mentioned here. Okay, so I have given some comments here. So so after you mention where your dynamic software is running, in the local host. If you want, you can give a remote host as well. So for those things, I recommend you to go through the PDF if you want. Okay, because I'm using the Dynamic server inside my local computer, I have to mention that I am using Dynagen or the Dynamics in my local computer. After that, what you have to do is you have to declare this, like a, those who are familiar with programming, you may feel like this like a program actually, because we have to this like a declaring variables. Okay, after that you have to declare what are the routers that you are going to use in your diagram. Okay, now here I have mentioned that the router model that I am going to use for this simulation, and you have to mention where the image is located. Okay, so according to my computer, this 7200 image which I have shown you, now yeah, I can show you, this is the path. Okay, so now maybe I have to little bit change the path, because you can see here the G, I'm using L here. Okay, so you have to change the path according to where your file is located. Okay, so currently I'm in the directory L actually. So here what I have to do is, depending on the directory, you have to change the correct location. Now you can see my file is inside on the drive L, but here I have mentioned it as uh, drive G. So I will show you this will not going to work then, because of the problem with the path. So that is why I told you when you are downloading these files, always use the C drive. If you if the path is different, this diagram will not going to work. Okay, so anyway, where this is where you are showing where the IO image is located. Okay, then these are specific to the router. Okay, and you have to mention the RAM, how much of memory you have allocated for this router, and this is for the first router, and this is for the second router. If you are using more than one model, that model also you have to define here like a variable. Okay, so this is 3275 router, and the image, the path for the that one also you have to give. Okay, you have to give, and you have to mention how much of RAM that you are going to allocate for that router. Okay, and if you are going to use expansion cards or slots, okay, now here you know that the number of slots are different from router to router, and the supported uh, uh, you mean that I believe you may have kind of idea with the router models. Okay, so depending on the router model, there are different modules that they are supporting. Okay, so here that's why I'm using this one, the slot one, with NM16 ESW means it will give you 16 Ethernet ports. Okay, but you can't use this slot with the 7200 because the router models are different. You can't fix NM16 ESW for this router. So depending on the router model, you have to select what are the slots that you can use. Okay, then after that, after you declare what are the routers that you are going to use and their path, then you can create the route. Okay, now this is how you are going to create the router. So these are creating router instances. Okay, so you have to use the keyword router, and this is the host name that you are going to use. Okay, router RTR1. So router is the keyword and RTR1 is the host name. Okay, then you have to call what is the model that you are going to use. So here you are saying model 7200. It means it will going to use this image. Okay, it will going to use this image, and here router R2 model 3725. Then it will call this image and it will be mounted. Okay, so that is how you are going to create routers using this Dynagen file, and you can use to create switches. Okay, but remember these are not layer 2 switches. These are just normal Ethernet switches. Okay, that's why I have mentioned here unmanageable. Okay, to create unmanageable switches, you can use this keyword ETHSW. Okay, so ETHSW is the keyword to create switches. Okay, and you can give a host name for that one as well. Okay, so it will create a switch name S1, but these are unmanageable switches. Okay, so that is how you are going to create this file. Okay, so after create that file, you have to save it as uh, .NET file, and you will see the icon of the file is changed like this. Okay. Okay. The same file I'm opening in a different folder. Okay. So the same file, but this is somewhat modified one. Okay, because I need to show you that what are the slots that are supporting for router 7200. So it support multiple slots. So depending on the supporting slot, you can mention those things when you are declaring the router image. For the 723.725 also, you can mention what are the slots that you want. Okay. Then this is how you are creating the instances: router 1 host name and router 2. So I am going to use router 2 for this simulation. For the demonstration purpose, I will show you that model 7200 will be up. Okay, it will be working, but I'm not using that one. Okay, but I'm going to use only this one. Okay, so after you declare the router, then you can connect. You have to do the connections. Okay, you have to connect them each other. Now, as example, okay, if I show you here, uh, just give me 1 second, guys. Okay, I will explain how we are going to connect that one. So, okay, as example, now if I show you what I have done here, now you may think that because of the text file, how to understand how this has been done. Okay, so as example, if I explain how it has done, something like this. Now, first you have to create the router. Okay, so to create the router, okay, so I have created this three 275 router using the Dynagen file, then I have to connect it to the switch. Okay, so this is our normal diagram, and we have to connect some PCs for the switch as well. Okay, so these are VPCs that I have told you. So to work with these VPCs, you have to use the VPC Simulator. I will show you that one after this one. Now with the Dynagen file, we have created this router 1. Okay, as I remember, it is router 2. Let's see. Yes, RTR2. So this is, I'm talking about this one, RTR2. The model is 3725. Now what I have done here is, now you can see this is the interface of the router. Okay, this is the router interface. F00. It means here I'm using F00, fast Ethernet 00 from the router side, and this is the switch. The name is, as I remember, it's S1. We have to check. Okay, router switch name is SW1. So this is SW1. Okay, so this is SW1. Okay, from router side, I am using FA00. Okay, and I'm connecting it to the switch. So what is the switch port? It is port 4. So this is how you are refer this one. Huh? From the router side, this is FA00, and from the switch side, you have to mention the name of the switch, SW1. Okay, so here I have created switch with the name of SW1. You can see this like a declaring variables in the programming. Okay, ETGA switch SW1. So I have created a switch called SW1. So normally when you create a switch in Dynagen, it has 8 ports. Okay, it comes with the 8 ports. Ports numbers are starting from 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, likewise. So here this means, this diagram means, if I talk about after this router 2, the diagram looks like this. Okay, so I have declared this router 2 with the model 3275, and I'm using FA00 of this router, and I am connecting it to the Ethernet switch 1 port 4. Okay, so that is the meaning of this one. Okay, so it means here I am using port 4. Okay, I believe you got the idea. Okay, first you create the router. Okay, and from the router side, you have to mention what is the interface that you are using. So I'm using FA00. Then you have to mention what is the port that you are going to use in the switch, port 4. Okay, that's why I always telling you, without a diagram, this is somewhat difficult to understand. Okay, now I believe you can understand this. Okay, look at the router 2 part. The router 2 model is 3725, and of that router, FA00 is connecting to the SW1 port 4. Okay, so SW1 port 4 means I have created the ETH switch. You can see in the below bottom of this text file, I have created the switch. So this is how you are creating. Okay, as I told you, it's like a programming. You are writing a programming with variables. You are declaring. So you have created the switch using ETH SW. You are creating a router with the keyword of router. But the images that you are going to use need to be declared in top of the diagram, top of the text file. And what are the slots that they need to have? What is the RAM size that router need to have? Okay, I'm again telling you, I'm not using this 7200 router for the simulation, but for demonstration purpose only I'm using that one. Okay, I'm using this 3275 router, 3725 router here. So it has 16 ports and another 2 serial ports. Okay, is anyone has a problem with this one? Can you understand what I mentioned with this diagram and this text file? Can you understand the relationship between these two? I will explain what is this access one and those kind of things after this one. I just need to know whether you got the idea how this router and switch are connected with this diagram and with this text file. Anyone? Any questions? If it is okay, you can say that it's okay in the chat box as well, so I can get a kind of a feedback. Okay, few people has been replied with okay. So what about others? I can see there are nearly 50 people are in the room. So don't think that we are going to create that huge network using this manner, because I will explain. Okay, because that network already done for you. But because I'm demonstrating this part to understand that one. Okay, because you know that when you download, after you download that files, you may see in the lab setup file already there is a campus NW file is there. So it means that file has been already created. Okay, but to read that file, you have to have the idea. That is why I'm explaining this. And otherwise, if you open that file with the notepad, you will get confused. What is this? Okay, because if I show you the file that we are going to use for this uh, workshop, that file is already given to you. Okay, if I open that one, so you can see it's a huge file. Okay, it has a lot of things inside that one. So this file has been already created. Huh? This has been given to you, so you don't want to worry. You don't want to create that network with me for the entire workshop. No need. This uh, it has been done for you. But when you open that file in the notepad, you may confuse. No, what is this? So that is why I'm explaining this one. Huh? So that network, the network that I have already shown to you, already done. Okay, so don't worry. You don't want to create that one. Okay. Okay. Some participants are asking for me to summarize it again. So okay, then I will do it again, because I know that without having a proper idea about this file, uh, when you open the workshop file, it may become somewhat difficult for you. So if I explain again, so this is the so we are talking about the Dynagen, about the software that we are going to use. So Dynagen has two parts actually. Okay, so if I explain that one as well here. Okay, so the software, normally the software that we are using, you know, if you are using GNS3 or something, you will see everything in a graphical interface. But here what happened is the Dynamics is running on background as a service. Okay, so that service is running on background. So we have to create the network using Dynagen. Okay, there's software called Dynagen. So that is the front end. So this is the back end. Okay, this is the back end, and we have to use front end for this one. Okay, the front end is Dynagen. So okay, Dynagen means you have to create the network using a text file. Okay, you have to use a text file for this one. Okay, so using a text file, you are going to create the network. Okay, so in that text file, after you create that text file, so you have to save it with the .NET extension. Okay, let's say sample.NET. Okay, so this is the front end. So I am creating the front end actually. Okay, I am explaining how to create this front end. So you have to open a kind of a text editor, and you have to declare everything here. Okay, you have to write it. It's like a program. Okay, in a program, you know that you have to declare variables, and you have to call methods, functions. Likewise, you have to do the same thing here. So you are programming a network actually. Okay, so so this is a sample file actually. Okay, this example. So these two entries you need to use to because of the resources. Okay, so to free some memory from your computer, and to get more performance, you have to mention these two. Okay, that is why I'm telling you this is, if you go through the tutorial, you will see there are a lot of things that you can do here, but I'm not mentioning everything here. I just enable Ghost iOS and Spurs Mem. That's enough for this one, but there are a lot of options that you can enable in this text file. So this is the front end. And I told you this is local host, okay, because local host mean this backend, this dynamic server can be run on even in a remote server. Okay, you can have a remote server, and you can create this front end in a separate server, separate computer. Okay, you can install Dynagen service to a remote server, and you can create this front end in a different PC. Okay, so if you are going to do that, you have to mention that one in the top of your text file. But here I am using the front end and the back end, both thing in the same computer. That is why I am saying that local host. Okay, local host means this Dynamics server also running on the same computer. Okay, it means front end and back end both are running in the same device. But if your back end is running on a separate one, you can mention it here in the text file. Okay, but I'm using both server and the front end in the same device. That is why I mentioned it a local host. Then what I told you is you have to declare, you have to mention what are the iOS images that you are going to use for this simulation. Okay, so you have to download Cisco images. Those who are familiar with GNSP, you know, you have to download images for that one as well. So you have to have the images. You have to keep the images on a one folder. It doesn't need to be in the same folder, but for this simulation, I am using in the same folder. Okay, because this is the folder that I'm using. Okay, not that one. This one. Okay, so I'm keeping the images are also in my same folder. Okay, so this is the path HDynagen example1 here, HDynagen example, and so I'm keeping all the files in the same folder. You don't need to do that, but it's also better to use like that, because otherwise you have to find where the image is. Okay, so you have to download the image and you have to keep in that folder, and you have to mention what are the features that you need to have with the router. Okay, what is the engine type and what is the RAM that you need to allocate, and what are the expansion slot or what are the cards that you have to fix for that one. So that is depending on the router model. So those things you can mention here. Okay, in the Dynagen file, this hash mark will comment. Okay, you can use as a comment. So this section will not going to be read by the dynamic server. So whenever you want to have a comment, you can this hash mark and do that one. So here I have mentioned this hash mark. It means this slot will not going to be loaded because I have comment that one. Okay, so here you are mentioning the how much memory you are going to allocate for that router. So this is 3225 router, and this is the where the image is, and the RAM size that you are allocating for that router. And again, what are the expansion slots or what are the cards that you are going to use with that router. After you mention all those common things here, then you can define routers. Okay, here you are defining the images and the features that you need for the routers. Then what you can do is, with this prompt, this keyword, router keyword, you can give a host name and you can give a model. What is the model that you are going to use? So model 7200 means this Dynagen file will create a 7200 router with the name of RTR1 with these features. Okay, it will create an instance. Okay, this will create a 7200 instance with the name of RTR1 with these features. Okay, you can have multiple, not only one. If you create another one, it will create 2 instances. Okay, but I am creating only one. And router RTR2, the host name RTR2, the model is 3725, and I am calling this one. So it will create an instance of 3725 router with these features, with the RAM of 128, with the 16 port switch module, and 2 serial ports. Okay, so I believe that part is clear for you. Okay, after you creating those routers, what we have to do? We have to become a network. We need to have some connections. No? Now we have to connect them together. Okay. For connection, I am not using this router 7200 router. I am not using. I am using the 3725 router only. Now you can see after I create the instance, the FA00 of that router, I am going to connect to SW14. Here SW1 means the Ethernet switch I have created. You may think, so where the Ethernet switch? I haven't declared that one here. The reason is this Ethernet switches does not need any images. Okay, they are default in the Dynamics. They have already done it. So you don't want to have an image because these are not manageable. These are unmanageable switches. So you don't need to have a iOS for that one. You just have to create the instance. But the keyword is ETHSW. So with the ETHSW keyword, you have to give the host name SW1. So this part you can change as you want, but this is a keyword. Okay. So with the ETHSW1, it will create an Ethernet switch as well. So if I go to the diagram again, so I will get a new one. Okay. So what happened here was, so I have created 32 RTR2. The name of the route is RTR2. From that one, if fast Ethernet 00, I am connecting a switch called SW1 with the to the port 4. Okay, so that is the meaning of this text file. Okay, the explain. I have explained up to that level. Okay, so I'm mentioning this part. So route RTR2 model 3725 from F00 fast Ethernet 00. I am connecting SW1 switch with the port 4. So normally Ethernet switches are come up with 8 ports. So I'm using port 4 of that router switch to connect with this switch. Okay. Then if I explain the bottom part of this text file, now you may think, what is this? Okay, what are these things? Okay. So if we go to our diagram again, okay, this one you can see I am using 3 PCs here. 1, 2, 3 PCs are there. Router, now it is there. 3725 router and SW1 switch with the port 4 and here FA00. Now I need to have 3 PCs to work with this diagram. So those 3 PCs I have mentioned here. Now this may be a bit difficult for you to understand what is this means. Okay, so here we need have VPCs, virtual PCs. So where are the virtual PCs? Now to run the virtual PCs, again you need to have that VPC folder, which is you downloaded. Okay, inside that VPC folder you will see 2 files like this. Okay, so you have to remember these things are working independently. Okay, now this Dynagen file, this is the Dynagen file I have created. Okay, and the VPCs, when you run the VPC simulator, it will create 9 VPCs separately in the same localhost computer. Localhost means 127.0.0.1. Okay, when you run VPC separately, it will create 9 PCs. Okay, VPC 1, VPC 2, VPC 3, likewise up to 9 computers it will create. Now what you have to do is, now I need to connect these virtual PCs with this Dynagen file. Okay, VPCs are running separately in the local host. Dynagen file is running independently on the local host. Okay, so what I have to do is I have to connect these PCs to this switch. Okay, so let's see how to do that one. Okay, so I will run this VPC simulator. Now once I run this VPC simulator, you can see the virtual PC one, you can see it already loaded. But if you want to view all the VPCs, you can type show. Now you can see it has created 9 VPCs, but they are working on independently. They are not connecting with our Dynagen file. Now we need to connect these VPCs with our Dynagen file. Okay, to connect those VPCs with the Dynagen file, we are using this command. Okay, that is the meaning of this command. Okay, now I am connecting this VPC1 with the port 0 because this switch has 8 ports. Ports are starting from 0. Actually, this means that this SW1 switch port 0 is connecting to the VPC1. The second statement says that the switch 1's port 2 is connected with VPC2. And the third statement says the switch port 2 is connected with PC3. How you are going to identify that one? You have to go with this ports numbers. Normally, the VPCs are using UDP ports of your local host. Now you can see, if you look at carefully, you can see the VPC1, the local port is 20,000. And the destination port or the remote host port is 30,000. Okay. Now you can see when I connect them into the this Dynagen file, I have changed them. Change them means here local port is 20,000 and remote or the destination port is 30,000. Here what I have done is here source port is 30,000, remote host is 20,000. Okay, you can see here 30,001, here 30,001 to 2001. Here the 30,002, here 2002. So what I have done is I am connecting those VPCs with this Dynagen file. Okay, to do that you have to use this one. Access one mean, you may think that what is this access one? Access one means you have to mention the VLAN. Okay, because this switch port need to be a part of a VLAN. But you normally when you purchase a Cisco switch or whatever switch, all the ports are in the VLAN 1, the default VLAN, okay, native VLAN. But here in the Dynagen file, you have to mention to which VLAN these computers are assigned. So if you, as example, if you type access 10, this means the PC1, VPC1 will be allocated with what? VLAN 10. You are assigning VPC1 to VLAN 10. Those who are familiar with Cisco switches and creating VLANs, maybe you get the idea very easily. So access 10 means what happens? Automatically this PC will be put it into the VLAN 10. Okay, but here with this diagram, I'm not using any VLANs. Okay, so that is why I'm using access 1, it's the default VLAN. So all these 3 PCs will be in the same VLAN. So we can do the communication very easily because with my diagram, I'm not using any other VLANs here. All the 3 PCs need to be in the same VLAN. So that is the meaning of this access 1. Okay, all the 3 PCs are in the VLAN 1. So they will communicate each other. But if you change the number here, they will put it into different VLAN. Okay. So this is how you are going to connect the VPCs with the Dynagen file. Okay, here they are also running on the 127.0.0.1. So this is also I'm calling the same local host. What you'll do is you have to exchange or the interchange the local port and the remote host port. Okay, so here local port will be the here remote port will be the local port of this Dynagen file. Okay, so this is how you are mapping those UDP ports with the VPCs and how connect them to the switch. Okay, I know maybe bit complex for some beginners, but if you go through this one 1 or 2 times, I believe you can understand how this file works actually. Okay. So any questions up to now? I prefer if you can give a feedback even through the chat because this is the core of our network. Otherwise, network design, because we are not using any graphical softwares here. So you better get a proper understanding of how this network file has been created. because in this network setup, in future, you have to use this both softwares. Okay, you have to run, you have to independently work with this VPC simulator as well. Okay, so getting a better understanding of how these softwares is working is very important. Otherwise, troubleshooting will become very difficult for you. So if you have any doubts up to now, better clarify them. Otherwise, if you move forward, um, you will have a lot of issues when you are configuring the network. Having a proper understanding of these basics will help you to configure the network without a lot of issues. There may be some issues, but having a basic idea will help you to troubleshoot yourself and get the thing done. That's why I'm asking. Someone has asked, is the keywords are generic or we can assign whatever? Actually, the keywords need to be same. Router, if you are going to configure a router, if you are going to mention, or if you are going to create a router instance, the router keyword should be there. But after that, the host name you can change, like RTR1, R1, main router, campus router, anything you can use. But to create the instance, the first keyword is a must. Any feedback from your side? Is it clear, guys? So do I need to, if it is clear, I can move forward. Okay. At least one or two people, can you reply? That's better. So okay. Only I got replies from, yeah, some few send me some replies. So for them it is clear. But is there anyone still have any doubts? Okay. Okay, then I will proceed with the diagram. Okay, then so after you create this one, as I told you, what you can do is uh, you have to save this with the .NET extension. Okay, so let's have sample one or something .NET. So this extension is needed. You have to save it as a .NET file. Then only the icon, the appearance will change. Okay. So you have to run VPC separately, and this one look like this. Okay. So when you run this for the first time, you can't see this type of files, because I have tested this one before. That is why you will see a lot of files here. Otherwise, all these 3 to 75 log rom1 was, those things will be not there in the first time. So don't worry. Only the images will be there in your diagram. After you run at least one, only these files will be created by the Dynagen. Okay. So after you create this one, you have to run the VPC simulator. Now it is running here. And to check this diagram, you have to run the dynamic server. So this is the critical point. If the dynamic server is not running correctly, we can't continue with this diagram. Okay, so let's see. I hope it will work. Okay, now you can see now the backend is also now running. Okay, Dynamics is running. Now VPC Simulator is running because we need VPCs. Okay, now what you have to do is now you have to go with to the our file example1, this file. Okay, which is representing these things. Okay, the file that we have created. Okay, so now we have to double click on that one. Okay, then it will loaded like this, and you can see some things are appearing in the Dynamics backside also. Okay, backend, it shows these things are loaded. Okay, now here you can see starting RTR1 with no idle PC value, starting RTR2 with no idle PC value. So you may think, what is this idle PC? Those who have experience with DNS3, you know what is this idle PC. So normally when you run Cisco IOS in a simulation environment, it will take more resources from your computer. Okay, mainly the processor will be used by these devices. So if you can set the idle PC value, the amount of CPU usage will be less by these routers. Okay, so that need to be done. Okay, you can do it. You can do with this Dynagen front end. Okay, now after if there are no any errors, you can see this term network successfully loaded. It means now network is loaded. If you have any errors, it will show you the errors. Okay, now as I will show you, we will do some changes and we'll see how the errors are showing. Okay, now if you come to this level, it means your whatever the content of your file is accepted by the dynamic server and there are no any errors. Okay, the setting idle PC values are optional, but I'm recommending better to do that to keep your PC with in a kind of a performance level. Okay, so after you come to this one, you know that those who are familiar with command line, you can check what are the options that are available in this console. Okay, with the question mark you can see the things that you can do. Okay, to view the network with what are the devices that are loaded with this Dynagen file, you can use the command show list. There's a command called list. Okay, so this list command will show you what are the devices currently loaded. Now you can see router 1, router 2 and switch 1 is loaded. Okay, and the type also showing in this one. The type of the router 1 is 7200 and the router 2 is 3725 and state is running. And you can see the server that we are using, the local dynamic server, local port that they are using, and the console port assigned for each and every device. Okay, console port 2000 and 2001 are allocated for router 1 and router 2. But as I told you, switch 1 is not a manageable one. So there are no any ports allocated for that one. So you can't log into the switch 1. Okay, switch 1, you can't log in because it's not a manageable device. Okay, now you can see 3 commands line are running. Okay, no graphical interface. Okay, so now how to access the routers? That's the next point. Okay, the routers actually now running. Okay, so how to access the router? If you are familiar with the graphical interface, you know that there may be right click and go to console or something will be there. But here, after successfully loaded the diagram, what you have to do is you have to have a terminal emulation or PuTTY or some kind of a software that you can console terminal emulation software. So here I am using PuTTY. Okay, so okay, then you have to mention the IP address because these are running on your local computer. So you can use 127.0.0.1 and the port. This is very important. Depending on the device that you want to log in, you have to select the proper correct port here. Now router 1 is using the console port 2000 and router 2 is using 2001. So you have to, if you want to connect to the router 1, RTR1, mention the port here, but not SSH, but telnet. Okay, you have to select telnet from here. Okay, and open. Then it will connect to the router. Okay, so this is the initial message. You have to say no, and you have to wait for some time until it go to the user mode. Okay. Okay. So I believe most of you have experience with Cisco devices. So this is the router user mode. Okay. So if you want to check you can go to the enable and you can go to the privilege mode. And if you want to check the version, it says it is C7200 router. Okay. And show IP interface brief. So these are the interface currently in this router. Okay, so you can see whatever the things that you have declared is there. Now you can see slot 1, slot 2. Okay, so default there is one interface that is indicated as fast Ethernet 00, and I have fixed 2 slots. So those 2 slots are here. Okay, and that is how you are going to log into the router. Okay, so I'm going to close that one. And if I want to connect to the other router, okay, let's say I need to connect to the router 2, which is the router that I'm going to use for this simulation. So 127.0.0.1, the port is 2001, and telnet open. Okay, and no, and you have to wait for some time until it get the user mode. Okay. Okay, now we are in the user mode of that router. Okay, we'll see the version of the router as well. Show version. So that is 3725 router, and show IP interface brief. So I told you that we are using 16 port module as well. So here you can see it has 2 serial ports and fast Ethernet, 2 fast Ethernet port, and the switch module, which whatever the things that you have declared in this file will be there. Here slot 1, and there is a 2 serial port as well. Okay, so that is how it works. Now without taking that much of time, we will configure this one. Now you can see the router 1. You can change the name of the router. So you have to go to the configuration mode, config T, and you can change the host name to the RTR01. Okay, then we have to assign IP address for this one. I'm going to assign IP address for the fast Ethernet 00. Interface fast Ethernet 00. So IP address 192.168.1.1, and the mask is 24. Then no shutdown. Okay, so that's what you have to do on the router side. That's all, because this is a small diagram. Okay, now we will go to the VPCs. There's no configuration other than that one in the router. Okay, we have to just assign the IP address. So if you want, you can check whether the IP address has been assigned. Show IP interface brief. So the IP address has been assigned. Okay. Okay, IP is there. Now nothing else. Okay, then we can directly go to the switch 1. Switch 1 part has been done with the here. Now what we have to do this part, connecting the VPCs. Okay, to connect the VPCs, you have to run the Vpc Simulator, which is already done here. Now Vpc Simulator is running. Now I'm using PC1 here, PC2 and V3. Now you can see already the VPCS1 is there. If you want to navigate through the PCs, you have to mention the number. Let's say if you want to go to VPC2, just type 2 and enter, it will go to the VPC2. If you want to go to 3, like this. Okay, that is how you are navigating through the PCs. Now I need to configure the PC1. So I just type 1 and shift into the PC1 and assigning IP address. Okay, to assign IP address, you have to use IP. Okay, IP address is 192.168.1.10. Subnet mask you can define like this. If you go to the tutorial of this VPC, you can see how to work with this VPC simulator. I have given you a tutorial. So what are the commands that are available and how to set IP addresses and those kind of things you can easily understand if you go through this one. Okay, so we are in the diagram. Okay, I will go to this diagram and VP simulator PC1 192.168.1.10 and gateway. We have to do the gateway as 192.168.1.1, which is the router's IP. So this is how you are setting up the VPC. First, you have to provide the IP address and the mask in CIDR notation and the gateway. Okay. So then press enter and it will check whether there are any other PCs have the same IP. If not, it will assign that IP. Then the next IP address is 20. You can use arrow keys to navigate to this one. Okay. And the third one is 30. Sorry, I'm using the same thing. So this is VPC1. Sorry. Again 10. This is PC1. Okay. Then I have to go to the PC2. To go to the PC2, you have to type 2 here. Then assign the IP 20. Okay. Then VPC3. To navigate to the 3, type 3 and enter. Now we are in the VPC3. Then change the IP address 30. Okay, now PCs have been assigned with the IP address, so you can check them with show. Now you can see the VPC1 1.10, VPC2 1.20, and VPC3 is 1.30. If you want, you can, now I am in the VPC3. Inside the VPC3, you can see the prompt. I can check whether I can ping to 192.168.1.10, which is PC1. Now you can see I'm getting replies. These replies are getting because this Dynagen file, because Dynagen file already connect them together. Okay. Now I ping from PC3 to PC1. Okay. Without this Dynagen file, this pinging will not work. Okay, because using the switch, I have connected them together. That is why this pinging is happening. And even you can check to the router 1.1. See? Okay. We can ping to the router as well. Okay, now you can see this, even though there are no any graphical things that you can see, everything works. Okay, so always better to go with the diagram, otherwise it will become somewhat confusing. Okay, now I believe you got the idea because the diagram is here, the configurations are here. Okay, without the diagram, difficult, I know. Okay, because of the lack of graphical interface. Okay, so that is how you are creating a small network. Okay, now this network has been done. Okay, sometimes if you become familiar with this one, you will feel like it's very easy to work with this one than the graphical interface, because very easily you can configure if you are if you become familiar with how to work with this text-based implementation. Okay, so these are the only things that you need to be done to make this work. Okay, any questions? if you have any doubts, it's better to mention them before we proceed. There's a question. Let's see. I can't see his name actually. There's a Sahir. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's see what is there, and after getting the feedback from others. So I will share this file with you. So you also can try this one. But you have to change the path, okay? Because now because my computer I'm using the as example the drive H, okay? Because I this is something that if you want only, so if you want, you can try this one. But remember, you have to change the path, and you need to have the both ISO images. Otherwise, it is not going to work because we have shared only 3725. What you have to do is you can comment this one. Okay, if I explain, if you want to try this one, what you have to do is because if you don't have this image, better to remove this area. Okay, this part is not needed. Okay, only okay. I will save this as a new one, and I will change that one. Okay, I will example 2 or something, and I will .net, and I'm going to change the file. Okay, example2.net. Okay, and I will change because sometimes you don't have this one it with you. Okay, so this part is not needed. And so you are using the C. Okay, C drive. I'm going to change according to your configuration. C, what is the path that you are going to use? According to my instructions, I believe you have to put it into the C drive. Yeah, CWK files. So you have to make it like that. Okay. Example 2. C WK files. WK files. Okay, something like this. Okay, so if your image, remember this is the path of your 3275 image. Depending on your system, you have to do it. That's all. Okay, that's all. Then it will work. Okay, so let's save that one. Okay, I'm going to share it with you. Okay, you can open and see with the notepad. I think, yeah, you have to change the path into WKW lab files. Okay, here I believe if you understood what I mentioned here, it's very easy for you. So the only the path has an issue here. You have to lab files because it is inside another folder according to here. This is the path. Okay. Lab files. So this need to be the path if you are running that one. If you straightforward, if you're running that one, it will not work because of this path need to be this way. Yeah, depending on how you have extracted, please change the way that the path need to be there. I believe you can get the idea how to set the path. Okay. So if you correctly put the path of this the image, it will work without any issue. Okay. So yeah, you have to put it into the C. Yes. And if you another one, if you want to make this VPC data permanent, you can save it. If you type save, whatever the IP address that you have put it into this VPCs will be saved. Okay. So when next time when you open the VPC simulator, the IP address will be remaining. Okay. So that's always better to save after you work with the VPCs. That is how you are going to save. So I believe you know how to save in the routers. You know, normally with the either you have to use write or copy run start. So normal working procedure you have to follow. Okay. I hope it is clear for you all. I have sent the example to .NET file via chat. Okay, because uh, we have done it now. Okay, but all the required other files are already uploaded into the website. You can get it from there. I hope everyone got the file. Okay, to exit from the Dynagen, you just have to type exit. Okay, so when you type exit, you can go out from the Dynagen. Okay, VPC simulator you can close, or even you can exit that one as well. Okay, I think yeah, you can directly close that one. Okay, there's a command called quit or something. Yes, quit. Okay, that is how you are closing those things without any problems. Dynamic source is also running. You can close it. With the Control C. Okay. If I show you again the steps that you have to do, first you have to run the dynamic server. And if the dynamic server is working, you will see output like this. Then you have to run the VPC simulator. Because I have saved the previous configuration, you can see start of VPC and VPC's hist file has been created because I have saved the previous configuration. Then you can run VPC simulator. Then you can see the previously saved IP address and everything is loading. Okay. Now I have run the dynamics and VPC. Then you can run the network file that you have created. Okay. It is showing you that successfully loaded. Now when I press list, I can see only the router 2 because I have removed the router 1 in the network example 2 file. Previously we saw 2 routers, but because I have removed 1 router, now you can see. Yeah, router commands we will do because in the network setup, all the commands are being published in the website. You don't want to worry about that one. This is just a sample of what we have done, what we are going to do in the next lessons. Okay, next steps. Okay, that is why I have given this demonstration to be familiar with the tools that we are using in the next sessions. Okay, so all the it is not must to run from the C because we have given the instruction to use the C because everyone need to be in the common scenario. Otherwise, if you copy to D, then the path is different. So different people get different issues. That is why it doesn't mean to. It's not needed to in the C. Okay, you can keep it anywhere. But the most important thing is in the Dynagen file, you have to give the path correctly. Okay, where the ISO image located is not a problem until you give the proper path. Actually, the Dynagen path is not that important. The important thing is the router image path. Okay, the Dynagen software will install it into the default path, I believe. So depending on the OS, you can change where it installed. It doesn't matter where the Dynagen is installed. Doesn't matter until you give the proper path for the iOS image. If the iOS image path is different, you will get error. Okay. If I show you, if I change, let's see. I will show you the error as well. Now, as example, now in this example 2, I'm going to change the directory path. Let's say I'm going to put D here and I'm going to save it. Okay. And if I run it again here, unable to start VM, it give you error. Okay. Because it can't find the iOS image. Okay. Okay, I believe it's H, no? Yes, H. And even if you have any issues here, like as example, now imagine that I have mentioned F00 from here, but if I miss something here, SW1, but I miss the port number, so just SW1, and I save it and gonna run it again. Okay. Again, you can see there's error. Attempt to connect router to F to unknown device, SW1. So this kind of issues will come if you not properly configure the file. Okay, so network diagram will not loaded if you have any issues with the Dynagen text file. Okay. Unable to start VM. I think the path is again wrong. I am using H. Yes, H. My path is totally different now. So this is the path. That is why it's not loaded. Huh? Because I have changed the path according to your requirement. So this is my path. H Dynagen example 1. Now it will be okay. Okay. So if the everything is correct, only it will loaded successfully. Okay, I hope all the basic tools that we are going to use for this one is clear for you. If anyone still have any questions, you better ask. Okay. So I hope that example 2 file is working with your computer. Okay. For more information about those softwares and how they are working, you better go with that tutorials, because there are a lot of options that you can use. We have only fine-tuned that for our workshop only, but if you need more information and if you want more features of this one, if you go through those tutorials, you can get more information. Okay. So those are the main things that you need to aware before you go with network setup. Okay, all the instruction, all the commands, all the Cisco commands are given in our website. So before proceeding with that one, I will show you the images. So these images need to be downloaded to your computers, and with the virtual box. Okay, you have to use the virtual box, and devices need to be mounted on the virtual box. Okay, so Windows XP inside need to be there, pfSense need to be there, monitoring server and web server need to be there. Okay, so don't think about these things, these are for testing purpose anyway. So so when you are exporting these images, please make sure that these things, these options are there. So as example, after import Windows XP inside, you can go to the settings and you can check network and advanced. You can check whether these information are correctly mentioned on that PCs. Okay, most of them we have already done, but better to double check whether these are okay. The monitoring server, you have to put them manually, because monitoring server, because you have to be familiar with that one. Only for the monitoring server, these options may not be there, so you have to put them. Okay, but for the other devices, mostly Windows XP inside and pfSense and monitoring server, those UDP options maybe already we have configured for you. Okay, so you can double check them. Okay, adapter 1 need to be connecting to your local host. Okay, I believe most of you are familiar with the VirtualBox as well. Okay, so follow these instructions and get the idea about this network, and then you can continue with the network setup. So with the agenda, you will see now lab setup is, I believe you are okay with this one. Okay, everyone is running the dynamics. Okay, then go with the network setup. Okay, but it's still we have put it into the to the after session, but as we have gone through all the basics, we can continue with the network setup as well. So if I go through the lab files that we have shared with you, so you will see after you extract the WK files, Dynagen is there, WinPcap is there, VPC is there, and lab files is there. So this is the network that you have to, this network is already given to you. So you don't want to create the network. Okay. So if you right click this one and open with Notepad, you will see this network. Okay. This network means the network that we are going to configure. This one. So this file represents this network. Okay. So you don't want to change anything here. If you want, you can go through and read through this one, but don't change anything, because this is the network. This network has been created using this one. That is why I have given you a demonstration, because if you look at this file, you will not get any idea. But now if you read through this one, now you know what is happening here. Okay, and I have already given some comments as well. So don't change anything. Okay, if you change this one, it will not going to work as intended. Okay, so a lot of issues may arise. Okay, to now you know what is happening. That is why that is the main reason I have given you that demonstration, how to work with this dynamics, Dynagen and VPC. Now when you open this one with Notepad, now you got the idea. Okay, we are just using 3725 multi-layer switch, and the image for that one is this, and RAM is this. Okay, so we are declaring 3 routers here. FAC1 means this router. FAC2 is this router, and this one FAC BLD1 FL2, it means this router. Now if you look at carefully, now you can see FAC1 has a 16 switch ports, and you can see FA10 here with the diagram you can check. Okay, FA10 is connecting to FAC1 BLD1 FL2 FA1/15 here. Read the diagram with the text file, then you will get idea. Okay, now I'm just talking about a one router, FAC1. Now FAC1 fast Ethernet 1/0 is connecting to FAC1 BLD1 FL2 1/15. Done. Another one, F00, router 1 or the FAC1 FA00 is connecting to FAC201. Here, this 00 is connecting to FAC2 0, 1. Okay, so whatever the things that in the diagram has been done with the text file. Another example, fac f1/1 fac1 bld2. You can go through that one. fa1/1. You can see e7 7. You can see. Okay, and here you can see f1/15 is connecting to this UDP channel, which is LibreNMS, your monitoring server. Okay, so it has been given even. Okay, so again, now as example, this one, this fac1 bld2 fl0. It is a Ethernet switch, not a manageable switch, just a switch. You can check that switch, fac1 bld2 fl0. This one, fac1 bld2 fl0. In that one, port 2 is connecting to Windows XP. Okay, so if you check, you can see 2 is connecting to the Windows XP computer. So here, that is not a virtual PC, that is a graphical PC. Here you can see the UDP channel is 5003 and 4003, just to get idea. So when you go to the virtual box, you will see in the Windows XP, if you check the network connectivity, here you can see 5003 and 50,003 and 40,003. Here 50,003, 40,003. So this file is representing everything what you have gone through. Okay, that is not a virtual PC, but it's a UDP channel. That UDP channel is used by Windows XP computer. So whatever things that's reflecting here, you can see on the this Dynagen file as well. Okay, sometimes this wording may be different on your file because the file that I uploaded, I have changed some wording, not the content, but the wording, the comments I have changed for more clarification. Okay, so try to understand by looking at the relationship between this file and the diagram. Okay, so always this file is goes with the diagram. So whenever you have a kind of idea, or if there's any gray areas, unclear areas, what is happening with this file, open the this network diagram and try to read that with the diagram. Okay, then you will get idea how these things has been connected. Okay, bit confusing, I know, for a beginner. But it won't take too much of time. If you go through this one or two times, you will get the idea. Okay, so if you have any question, you can ask while I'm explaining these things. Okay, so once you are starting your network setup, there are some IP address plans are being given. Okay, so here you may think like, what is this XY? Because this is a IP version 4 IP addresses are there, but you may think, what is this XY? XY is a variable. Okay, you can type anything you want. Okay, you can change. That is why we have put it like XY. XY doesn't mean that you have to put XY. Okay, so you can have any value for the XY. But my preference is if you can use 10.1 it's better, because whatever the value that you use for XY, you have to consistently use that one. Continually, you have to use that one. Okay, if you can't type 1 here, then 2 here, 3 here, no. If you select one value, remember, for the entire network setup, for the entire practical, that XY value need to be a 1 value. Okay, whether you select 1 or 2, it need to be that value. Okay, so user can change value for the XY with a valid number. So valid number means don't use different values for different IPs. Okay, it need to be a 1 value. This is the constant. Okay, so my recommendation is use 1. Okay, 10.1. Okay, so where are the XY? If you select 2, it need to be 2 for the entire practical. Okay, so if you select 1, it need to be 1. Okay, so my preference is if you can use 1, that's better. So because then everyone is using 1, so if there are any troubleshooting things, we can easily do that one. Okay, so the IP address plan has been given, and how to run the dynamic service. Now you know, you don't want to read this one to know how to do that one. Okay, so I have given some screenshots as well. So what will you see after you loaded this one? Okay, then how to connect to the router also been given. So okay, then because now you know how to connect to the routers and how to work with the GN dynamics. Okay, then you can go with the initial configuration. So everything is given here. If you have any errors, what you have to do, and how to set the host name, because some one participant asked, some people are not familiar with Cisco, so how to configure. So all the commands are given here. Okay, what you have to do is you have to type the command as it is. Okay, so this password you can change if you want, but we have given the common password as Cisco. So, but those who know how to work with Cisco, if you want, you can use another password, but if you forget that one, then there may be problem. So that is why we have given a common password as Cisco. So it's up to you to whether we are going to use it or not. Okay. So these XY things you can change according to your requirement. And that's what I have to explain to you. See, all the other things need to be done by yourself. Okay, you have to because the network is not configured, only the diagram has been configured. So you have to log into the each and every device and you have to configure according to the instructions given. Okay, so when you run the dynamics, the device host names will be listed like this. So you know what is fact1, what is fact2, and everything is there. So according to this instruction, now as example, now you have to configure fact1. Okay, so what you have to do, after you run the dynamics, you will see Dynagen here, fact1, the port is 2000. You log into the router using the method that I have explained and start configuring fact1. Okay, Cisco commands. Okay, and fact2. After that one, you can console the telnet into the fact2. You can see what is the port number 2001. Actually, you have to configure only 3 routers here, because all the other devices are unmanageable devices. Okay, so Cisco wise, only 3 routers you have to configure. Okay, most of the configurations are with fact1 and fact2. There are limited configuration in the the third router. Okay. So after you configure this one, so I will load that file for you, because I have already done that one. Maybe it's here somewhere. Okay, I am using a different name. So this is a sample of that file. We'll see. Okay, So you have to run the dynamic server. Then I have, I think VPCs. Yeah, this is VPC. Okay. Okay, then test one. So as example, a copy of the file that we have uploaded to you. Sometimes it takes some time to read the configuration file. Okay. Do you have any questions? You can ask them here before we start the configuration. If you have any doubts about Dynagen. If it is take more time, it's better to close and start it again. Sometimes maybe due to the resource problem or something, it may give some issues. Okay, now you can see first time it's not loaded. If you face that kind of issues, close the dynamic server and again run it. Actually, these are layer 3 switches. Actually, now 3 to 75, one is actually a router, but you can have the module. The problem is there are limitations that this GN dynamics are having. So as example, if you go through this file, it will show you what are the router models that we can use with the Dynagen. Okay, as example, I will show you at the end of this tutorial. It will give you idea the router models that you can use. Okay. So these are the models that you can use with Dynagen. Okay, so if you have the ISO image, no problem, you can mount them. Okay, so 1700 you can use, and but you have to go through this one. Okay, with what slots, what are the available slots, and what are the cards they are supporting. Then 2600 series you can see, and then 3000 series you can see 29. Okay, so likewise there are versions, there are models that it supported. Okay, so those are the things that you have to use. Actually, if you are trying to get layer 3 switch, I don't believe that you can do it, because even in the GNS3 also somewhat difficult to simulate switches. Okay, now there are some ways, but so this is something that came before the GNS3 graphical or the improvements. Okay, so directly if you are trying to run layer 3 switch, I don't think it will work, because that support is not there. Okay, that is why we are also using router with switch module to create VLANs as well. Okay, so that problem is there in the newer versions of GNS3 as well. But now there are some images that you can use with GNS3, but this is somewhat older version of the GNS3. So we can't use directly layer 3 switches with this one. So after you run this one, now you can see this need to be happen with you one. Okay, if you are not changing anything, this will be loaded without any issues. Okay, so you can check list and you can see all the devices are there. Okay, so same as here. Okay, Okay, so if it's successfully loaded, you will see this one. Okay, the same replica of this output. Okay, so then you need to connect to these devices. So if you want, you can use Super Putty, Solar Putty, or this one, Solar Putty, and you can have multiple tabs. So if you are familiar with Solar Putty, you use that one. So you can have multiple tabs simultaneously. You can work with the devices. But if you are not okay with that one, better to use Putty with separate windows. Okay, so you can get the Putty, and if you want to log into the FAC1, again the IP address is 127.0.0.1. It is using port 2000, and you have to select telnet here and open. Okay. Okay, now you can see I have connected the FAC1, enable, the password is Cisco. Now I am inside the router. Now I have done the configuration. Now, okay, you may think that, okay, how this name comes, because the configuration are already done. Okay, so show run. Okay, it will show you the configuration of the router. So here you can see those who are familiar with Cisco, you know how to read this one, and all the information you can see. Everything has been done now. So whatever after you complete the practical, this is the final output actually. So all the descriptions are being given, IP addresses are being assigned. Okay, and VLANs, everything trunks has been configured, and even OSPF. Okay, routing protocols are being configured, even SNMP. So this is the final output actually. This is what we need to do. Okay, after you configure everything, this is the running configuration of the FAC1. Okay, show IP interface brief. So you will see the IP addresses and VLANs, then show IP protocols, OSPF. Okay, show IP route. Okay, routing. Okay, likewise, the configuration that you are having, everything you can check with this one. So this is what you get after you configure the FAC1. Nah? So after you configure, all the commands that needed to get this output is there. Okay, everything is there. How to configure these IP addresses, how to set OSPF, and everything here. We have described each and everything here for all the routers. Now, as example, if you want to connect the faculty to 127.0.0.1, that is 2001. Okay. See, did I select telnet? On 27.0.0.1, port is 2001, and telnet. Yes, this one. Okay, this is FAC2. So that also has been configured. Okay. So you can see IP addresses are being assigned. Okay, VLANs are being created. Okay, show IP route, OSPF. So OSPF is running. Okay. So I'm doing this without running the VMware, so VM images. So after you configure this one, after then when you run this Windows or this VM images, you can have the network. Okay, so after this one, the whole network start working. You can ping from this XP to the firewall. You can configure. So everything can be done if you work through according to the instructions that are on that page. Okay. Um, so uh, so as example, I'm trying to run this Windows XP. So let's start Windows XP machine. While you are working without shutdown, it's better always suspend the PCs, so it will easily starting up than restarting again and again. Okay. So anyone having any questions about this Dynagen setup? And there is some problem with this one.
System engineer.
Okay, so did you try this one actually? Someone, if anyone, so up to this, is it working for you guys? Please come up to this level. It means you can proceed with the configuration. Router cannot load in PuTTY, so you have to check whether you have given the correct port number, this one here, the console port number need to be correct. Okay, 2000, and make sure that you are using 127. Okay, route is running 127.0.0.1 as the IP, and telnet need to be selected. Okay, make sure that you have selected telnet. Then the press enter after you clicking on that telnet screen. After you press 2 or 3 times the enter button, that need to be changed. Okay, else try again. Okay, because it need to be work, because as I shown you, but not load. Try with the other one, fact2, the 2001 port, and make sure and the telnet screen you have to press 2 or you click on that one and enter, otherwise the prompt will not appear at the first time. Okay, so the Windows XP machine has loaded. Now you can see, so we have given you the instructions, the IP addresses that need to be assigned to the Windows XP machine as well. Okay, so according to the instruction, you have to assign the IP addresses. So according to instruction, the IP address need to be on the XP machine is 10.1.30.10, and the default gateway is 10.30.254, which is the FAC1 router. If I again show you the diagram, this is the Windows XP machine, and it is connecting to the FAC1. The FAC1, it has a SVI, or the virtual interface, VLAN interface, that has been given as the default gateway. Okay, so if your network is correctly working, so if the IP address and everything and routing is correctly working, you will be able to ping to the default gateway. Okay, now you can see this network is actually, even though these are in separate locations, now you can see I can ping to the default gateway. Default gateway means the IP address of the, you can see this is the Windows XP machine. I have ping through this switch to FAC1. There is a virtual interface in the FAC1. So if I show you that one, FAC1, we will see IP address is called 10.1.30.254. We'll see 10.1.30.254. This one here. 30 dot, no, 30 dot, this one. So I have ping to this interface, this IP, VLAN 30 IP, I have ping from Windows XP 10.1.30.254. 10.1.30.254. Okay. So even from router, you can check to ping to the PC. PC's IP address is 10.1.30.10. Okay. Sorry, that is 10.1.30.10. Here you will get the replies. Okay, I'm ping to the XP machine. So after you configure this correctly, and when you switch on all your VirtualBox images, okay, they will work as one network. Even though they are funded separately, VirtualBox is separate software, Dynamics is a separate one, and VPC is a separate one. So independently they are there, but with this Dynagen file, you have interconnect them together. Okay, so here this is the Windows XP. Okay, so even though they are running individually in 3 separate places, this text file integrate them together. So end of the day, this network will be created if you go through all the instructions that we have given you. So all these routers and everything is configured according to these instructions. Okay. Okay, if two loaded, no, in fact, two loaded for someone now for what? For the Vijaykanth. Vijaykanth, you try it again, which should load, so it will work. Okay. You close it and retry because it will not going to affect too much. Okay. Yeah, you try it again. And if you repeatedly come up with some issues, better to restart your computer and try, because if you are running a lot of other services while you are working, sometimes they may interfere with this software. Okay. So sometimes you may need to restart your computer and check if you run it multiple times and it is still not working. Okay. I just switch on the Windows XP only, but so depending on the requirements, you don't want to switch on all the PCs at once. If you switch on all the PCs at once, then they are going to use your physical memory and it will become somewhat slow. So so don't do that. So don't switch on all the PCs at once and do that, because after you configure the Cisco devices, then you can switch on PCs and try to connect them to the network. Okay. Other than that, before configuring the network, don't switch on virtual PCs because it's not needed actually. The virtual PCs are needed when you are going with PF Sense configuration and monitoring server configurations and web server. Only for those things you need to switch on virtual PCs. Other than that, beginning of the workshop, you don't need to switch on these VMs. But for checking, now I just check whether my network is working correctly. I switch on one instance. So something like you can do. You can check whether Windows XP is communicating with the rest of the network. Do that one. But switch on all the PCs at once. It's not recommending because even though you have 8 GB, sometimes it may, due to the resource or due to the services that are running in your computer and other tasks that you are doing, maybe it will affect the performance. Okay. Uh, so okay, fact one loaded, no? Okay. Any other feedback from now? Only one. Uh, Actually, Vijaykantan only replied. Has given only feedback. So what about others? Did you try this one and is it working? Before we go for the lunch, it's better we resolve the issues that you are facing with the initial configuration. Then after the lunch, we can continue with the configuration. So is there anyone who has successfully loaded these things and come to this level? I have got the reply from only Vijaykanth. Any other who can reply? Okay, Damayanth also replied that everything is working perfect, good. Happy to hear that. Okay. Okay, I'm getting some replies. Actually, very happy to see that most of you are giving the positive answers. Okay. Mr. Tennakon also replied that it's working. Thank you, Indika. So it makes, yeah. Connecting facts here to NDP resulted in unable to create UDP. Uh, okay, you got the error, no? Connecting fact1 FA0 to NDP, unable to create UDP NIU. Let me check where there. FA01. Amila also got Mr. Amila also got something unable to. Yeah, the same error, no? Unable to create UDP NIU. Yes, unable to list device. Uh, those who are having that NIU or UDP error, you can comment that line and check. Okay. After you comment that one also, if you get another error by because normally this error is not something that we have experienced. So you comment it and try, and if it comes again with another port, my recommendation is to restart and check that one, because if that these ports are already used in your PC, sometimes this error can happen. Okay. You are using example one working, no? Example one working. Yeah, because maybe maybe due to the yeah, you restart the computer and try that one without running any other examples. Just try the new the campus network, that one only, because maybe because you have already run that GNS3 sorry, Dynamics and VPC Simulator, there may be some conflicting maybe. Okay, you restart and just run the Dynamics server, and you don't need to run the VPC Simulator, no need. You just run the Dynamics shortcut and campus network file and see what happened. Okay. So that's the thing. So example is working, campus network is not working. So after retest only. Mhm. Yeah. Uh-huh. Mm, 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 mm. Should I set a name and password? Yes. Yes. The instructions are given in the network setup web page. So what are the names that you have to set, and all those kind of informations are given in the network setup page. Okay, some are having some issues. Some are okay. Mm. Okay, I closed the AnyDesk, then it worked. Okay, so that is why I'm telling you there may be some issues with the resource. If you are running some other softwares, other services which are conflicting with UDP ports or something, that can affect this one. Okay, so maybe some services are automatically running on your computer. They may conflict with this one. So that's case by case. We have to find what is the issue now. I think the Tilina got the issue resolved after closing the AnyDesk. Okay, so that is the thing. That is the thing that depending on the resources, that is the services that you are running, there can be some conflict. Okay, that's why I'm telling you, if you can restart and if you can come up with a fresh environment, sometimes it will work. And even some virus guards mm, can also have some issues, but we didn't experience any problem with the virus guard actually. But some people are using some different type of firewalls or softwares, then they may be blocking the ports sometimes. Okay, so it's depending on your PC's configuration and the software that you are using. So you can try different ways now. Tilin has closed the AnyDesk and it worked. And even you can temporarily you can this is not recommending, but if you feels like your personal firewall or any other security software is conflicting this one, temporarily you can check by disabling it to check whether okay, it worked quit in AnyDesk. Okay, now you can see. So problem resolved. Okay, for some people because of the AnyDesk. Okay, so okay, hope everyone is now loading the diagram and you can start working with that one. So now we can go for the lunch break. While you are having the lunch break, you go through the steps that I have explained and try to load this one. And if you have any problems, we will discuss them after the lunch break. And you can share your screen with us and you can get our direct input. Firewall, okay, switch off. Okay, Sahil, switch off the firewall as well. You restart as well, no? Okay, so for some people, index was the problem. Example is working fine. Okay. Actually, example is using some UDP ports that are starting from 20,000, but the others are using beyond 30,000 as I remember. Maybe there is a problem with no, don't restart any VMs. That is the thing. If you don't want to, if you start the VMs is not needed actually. VMs are needed end of the this thing. You just check is there any other processes are running on the UDP ports because with the conflicting. Okay, so in the lunch break also you try that one. Others also check whether is there any conflicting services, and you can resolve as other people do with the AnyDesk or something. And we'll continue after the lunch break. While you are getting the lunch break, also you can check whether it's there any for your. You try to resolve it yourself with any. If you can find any known issue, you can try it. Otherwise, we will see what we can do. So after the break, okay. Get the lunch break and we will meet at 1:30. While that time you can try the things that I have explained, and if there are any issues, if you experience any issues, we'll see what we can do and we'll continue. So before we go with the other configuration, these initial configurations are needed. Okay, if the initial configurations are done, only we can work with the VMs, all the web servers, and even monitoring service and pfSense firewall configurations only we can done if this network diagram is working correctly. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, guys, for the session and for your participation session. So we'll meet at 1:30 and we will go with the configuration, and I hope few of you will share your screen with us and you will do the configuration. Okay, so let's continue after the break. Okay, thank you very much for joining.